It's been a few days and the dust has finally settled. Oscar Valdez brutally knocked out Miguel Berchelt and earned the WBC belt at super featherweight. However, there has been a lot of movement on Twitter in regard to his potential next opponent. Obviously, Shakur Stevenson is the easiest one to get done because they both share the same promoter. But before we begin discussing Tank Davis as another opponent and what's been going on there, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and stay tuned for a lot more interesting and unbiased boxing content to come. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section and we can discuss whatever you guys please on the video. So anyway, Oscar Valdez obviously challenged Shakur Stevenson in the post-fight interview and he said, he's ready for that. However, there does seem to be some funny business going on because in a recent post on his social media, he said that Francisco El Bandido Vargas could potentially be his next opponent, to which I don't really like. I'm not really feeling that fight because Vargas has long been past it. I mean, his fighting style never really lent itself to be an extensive career, and I think his best days are behind him. I would really be interested in Shakur Stevenson because not only is it easy to make, and it'd be easier than a lot of these other fights to make, but it'd be another marquee name, it'd be another respected and talented individual in Shakur Stevenson, and if Shakur Stevenson wins, well, we have another potential star in the making, and if Oscar Valdez beats him, well, that just continues to prove his level of talent and skill. Regardless though, on Twitter, Leonard Ellerbe tweeted the following, and I quote, "LOL, hold up, Leo is far more accomplished than Valdez, but he was too small, right? Valdez comes from 26, but he's not too small? Which narrative is it? Can't have it both ways. By the way, Tank would knock him the F out." Here's the whole thing though, I don't understand what narrative is he implying to. What's being pushed here? Those are two completely different scenarios. Look, Oscar Valdez moved up in weight, and even though he was a smaller fighter, he moved up and knocked the bigger fighter out. He laid him out. Leo Santa Cruz, on the other hand, was a smaller fighter, perhaps not in stature and height, right? He doesn't weigh, he's not as densely packed as Tank Davis. If you look at Tank Davis, he's built as his nickname is. That's why they call him Tank, because he used to walk through power shots. He used to walk through power punches. He's small in stature, but he's husky. That guy is built. He's a little brick house. And even though Leo Santa Cruz might be a little bit taller, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's bigger. Those are two completely different things, and it doesn't seem like Leonard understands that. Look, Leo Santa Cruz moved up from 126, right? And he got knocked the F out. He didn't do the knocking out as opposed to Valdez. Those are two different things. So yes, Leo Santa Cruz was a small fighter for Tank Davis. He came from all the way down at 118. His best days were at 118 or 122. Once he moved up to 126, his power, which was already limited at super bantamweight, was pretty much non-existent at 126. What more do you expect at 130? And that's not to say he was doing poorly against Gervonta Davis, because he was actually getting his licks in. However, there's many different reasons as to why that was happening. From my perspective and the way I saw it, I think Davis allowed a lot of these hits to go through in order for him to set up that brutal knockout. If you look at the last sequence of the fight before Leo Santa Cruz got brutally knocked out, Tank Davis got smacked with the right hand. The second one he blocked, and the third one he slipped and came up with the uppercut and knocked my man the F out, right? Meaning he allowed himself to get hit, baited him in further, but blocked the shot and finally executed the execution. See what I'm saying? So yeah, Leonard, I still don't understand which narrative are you talking about being pushed here. Valdez moved up. He was a smaller fighter, but he moved up and knocked Berchelt out. Berchelt was like 16 pounds rehydrated, meaning on fight night he was 146.6, roughly around, if I recall correctly. Valdez was like 4 or 5 pounds smaller than he was after the rehydration effect. Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz was completely the opposite way. Leo Santa Cruz moved up in weight, right? He didn't knock Gervonta Davis out. Davis knocked him out. See, for this whole thing to make sense for me, Gervonta Davis would have to be the one moving up. Let's say, hypothetically, Gervonta Davis moves up to 140 and he knocks out the winner of Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez, right? That's what's equivalent to Valdez knocking out Berchelt. However, let's say that happens. Let's say Gervonta Davis does go up, knocks out Josh Taylor or knocks out Jose Ramirez, or let's say he knocks out both of them at 140, and he's just coming up in weight, but he accomplishes that feat in his first fight. If he doesn't get the props that Valdez did or more, then there's definitely an underlying issue. As it stands right now, only the truth is being exposed. Gervonta Tank Davis knocked out a smaller fighter. Taller maybe than he is, but not physically bigger. Tank Davis, as opposed to Leo Santa Cruz, is smaller and more compact. That's just the way his body is structured. Leo Santa Cruz is taller and lanky. So yes, Leo Santa Cruz might have been taller, longer, whatever you want to see it, but he was not bigger. He is not the bigger fighter than Gervonta Tank Davis is. It's just unfortunate that Davis has a short stature. Just because a fighter, and let me put this in layman terms. If you want to talk about fighters and you want to say, oh, so-and-so is a bigger fighter, so-and-so should fight this guy because it's fine, he's tall enough. If we're going to base size differentials on height, then Deontay Wilder could potentially face off against the young prospect in Sebastian the Towering Inferno Fundora, because my man's is 6'5.5", but he's fighting at super welterweight, which is 154. That is numerous weight divisions in between him and Wilder, but he's almost the same height as Wilder, right? So who's the bigger fighter? Is there a difference? Why shouldn't they fight, right? It doesn't make any sense. So that's why Gervonta Tank Davis gets a lot of heat, because a lot of the fighters, and I even made a video on this, so if you guys want to check that out, make sure you do. I'll leave it in the description box below, where I break down Gervonta Tank Davis's resume and show you guys how he's been fighting a lot of smaller fighters. Is he talented? Yes. That does not take anything away from him. It doesn't take away his skills, his abilities, his brutal knockout power, but he is fighting the smaller men. However, though, if Valdez is to fight Tank Davis, right, or anybody else at 130 and gets knocked the F out or TKO'd or loses the decision, guess what? He is not gonna be the quote-unquote smaller fighter from this point forward. Why is that? Because he already beat one of the most formidable, and by many people's account, the most formidable and strongest fighter, or most proven rather, fighter at 130, and Miguel El Berchelt. So no, there will not be any excuses. If Gervonta Tank Davis and Oscar Valdez were to face off tomorrow, let's say, and Gervonta sleeps Valdez, then he will definitely deserve all the praises he would get, because Valdez has already proven himself and established himself not only as a top name, but as the top talent in the division right now because of that sole win. In fact, you could even argue that Valdez with that victory has the best win at the division as it stands. You name me one fighter that has a better win at 130 than Oscar Valdez right now. You'd be hard pressed. It'd be very difficult for you to tell me, hey, so-and-so has a better resume, check this one out. Because Miguel Berchelt had been champion for years, was on his 7th or 8th title defense, and he was not only outclassed, but slept by Oscar Valdez as he was moving up in weight. So regardless of what comes next, whether it's Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis, and I hope it's not Francisco Vargas, because if it is Francisco Vargas, I hope he gets a lot of heat for that one. Called out Shakur Stevenson. I think Shakur Stevenson deserves his shot. It's been long overdue. They were both at 126. For whatever reason, Oscar Valdez claims he wanted to chase after greener pastures, and he did. I'm not doubting him. He did move up and fought Berchelt, and he earned that victory, and I'm so happy for him, and I'm glad that Berchelt is fine. But Shakur Stevenson followed up and moved up in weight, and now they're both in the same division. Shakur Stevenson, I believe, is his #1 challenger, if I recall correctly right now. So that fight should be happening next. Not only did Valdez already call him out and acknowledged him, but Stevenson is ready for it. So I really don't want to hear anything else about Francisco Vargas or this guy or that guy. I want to see Shakur Stevenson or Tank Davis or some other legitimate threat, not some fighter that has been slightly over the hill and has been on a decline. Don't follow up such a major and massive win with a lesser challenge. In the same vein, I also want to see Shakur Stevenson challenge himself. If he doesn't go after Oscar Valdez for his next fight for whatever reason, and say Oscar Valdez goes a different route, then challenge yourself. Start establishing your resume right now. You're already way past being just a prospect. He has just a few fights. He is young, this and that, but he's already been a world champion. Therefore, he's no longer a prospect. Those days are far behind him. He needs to start stepping up in competition. Tank Davis, same thing. Whether it's at 130, 135, he said his next fights are not going to be at 130 or 135. So if it's at 140 or 126 or whatever it may be, start going against the top dogs. Start facing off against the legitimate threats. It should be even across the board. Valdez, face the top dogs. Shakur Stevenson, face the top guys. Gervonta Davis and everybody else in the sport should be doing the same. Now, for whatever reason, these corrupt sanctioning bodies want to give them some soft touches and their mandatories, then there's only so much they can do, right? Unless they want to get stripped. If they had a hard fight and want to follow it up with a soft touch or a tune-up, that's fine. But it can't be one tune-up after another tune-up after another tune-up to set yourself up for another tune-up and build a career off of that. We, as fans, need to demand these fights that we want to see. We are the paying customers, and they get their checks and all these riches, and they get to drive all these nice cars and whatnot, etc., based off of our viewership and what we watch. So nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think on the whole situation. Will Valdez go after Shakur Stevenson? Is he gonna avoid him now that he's at 130, and will he be a duck if he does? What about Gervonta Tank Davis? Do you think there is a narrative right now in the sport being pushed? Do you agree with Leonard Ellerbe? Let me know, because I don't. We could debate this back and forth. I really don't mind. I'd really like to talk about any of these situations going on in the video. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Like always, this is Shay at King Me Boxing, signing out.